Thank you everyone for tuning into this session on Platform as a Superpower. Gartner have recently made this bold prediction about what they think is going to happen within the IT industry. They believe that 80% of organizations will establish a platform team and that many of those will go on to develop an internal platform to deliver self-service capabilities to developers all across the business. My concern, though, is the majority of those teams will fail. Not because of technology, but because they've neglected the most important part of that: developers. I'm currently working with some of the leading household names across retail, finance, automotive, and telco. They have some of the smartest engineers building some really innovative tools. But after all of that effort, they're struggling to get developers to use those platforms. In this session, we'll look at why platform approach is so popular, how you can avoid some of the common pitfalls I've seen, and I'll share the top 4 ways my customers are turning things around. My name is Brian Ross, and I'm an executive advisor at VMware Tanzu. I work as part of a small, diverse group of distinguished technology executives that work with some of VMware's largest and most interesting customers. The team consists of industry veterans that have held senior leadership roles and have hands on experience of delivering large scale transformation initiatives that require technological, organizational, and cultural change. For my own part, I led the technology products division at Sky, providing a portfolio of self service cloud platforms that underpin Sky's television, broadband, and mobile propositions across the UK, Ireland, and Europe. I bring a mix of technology, business strategy, finance, and some entrepreneurial spirit to help my customers accelerate their digital transformation and deliver business value from technology. So, what is a platform, and why does Gartner believe that so many organizations are going to change the way they work? Well, if I think back to how IT departments have worked in the past, I think they've mostly been a support function, a cost to the business. They'll get involved in large funded projects, and their duty will be to deliver the infrastructure services required to make those bespoke projects happen. They'll likely get involved at the tail end of the project, and they won't be involved in the business case. Their job is strictly just to build out the infrastructure. And you better be quick because the project has already spent most of its budget and it's running over time. There'll usually be a number of technology orientated teams involved in that delivery, and there'll be a flurry of tickets passed to one another. Importantly, success is largely measured by spend and how cheaply we can deliver IT services. With a platform mindset, our goal is to be seen as part of the value chain. So rather than wait for these projects to appear at the last minute, we want to develop platforms ahead of time that can accelerate their delivery. We want to have standard ways of working rather than bespoke projects every time, beginning from scratch. We focus on user experience, developing self service portals with end to end automation, putting an end to all of those tickets. And we're customer centric in how we engage with our users. We work with project teams to help them with business cases. We understand the purpose of the applications that we're deploying. And we're going to shrug off some of that basement dwelling stereotype that we've seen in the past. If a platform is what we want to build, then a product is how we want to build it. And there's a lot involved in launching a new product. When I'm working with customers, I encourage the IT teams to think of themselves as their own little company. And each of the business units that they serve are their customers. Through that lens, we begin to appreciate that technology is just one aspect of developing that product. There's a range of other activities, many of them non-technical. So today, I want to pass on some of what I've learned across 4 major areas. Thinking back to our little company, we need to find a customer base and do market research to understand their pains, ideally before we jump ahead and start developing a solution. We need to think about how we'll brand and market that solution as a product, as well as knowing how much should we charge. We'll want customers that are new to our product have a great first experience so that they'll use it more and hopefully tell their friends how great it is. And when they get stuck, we want to give them help in a way that gets them back up and running quickly with the least amount of frustration. And finally, to complete that circle, we'll want all of our customers to help us identify other ways we can make their lives easier. We want them to feel part of what we're doing. You'll notice I've used the word customer a lot. I use that very purposely. We mostly think about our colleagues or our users, but if we're trying to run this little baby company of ours within the broader business, then those people are our customers. And in my experience, that subtle change in thinking can have a significant impact on how teams interact with one another. And perhaps here's the challenge. This isn't necessarily what our engineers learned throughout their years of formal education. They possibly have never really thought about technology with this lens. These are brand new skills. These are things that we need to learn to be more successful in the way that IT is evolving. So let's first look at marketing and sales. How do we provide customers with a set of easily discoverable products? Well, the first challenge, I think, is to succinctly describe what it is we offer and why someone might want to consume that product. That sounds really simple, but in practice, it's one of the areas I've spent the most time working with execs on. You see, IT historically has been very service orientated. We have a broad range of capability that we bring to projects to let them build whatever it is they need done. With a product approach, we need to have all that thinking done up front. We need to think about what it is that we're offering, what problems it's going to solve, how we're going to support it long term, and of course, how much it's going to cost the business to consume it. Once we know what we're offering, how do we tell people about it? And I think perhaps the first lesson here is that customers have choice. You need to make it really easy for them to learn about your platform. You see, the path of least resistance is incredibly strong. This is why we see so much shadow IT, even in the most highly governed environments. So, give your platform a name, create a logo for it. I will say, though, try to avoid three-letter acronyms or names that are overly technical. Because you see, your brand can help not only your users, but also execs and finance people talk about what you're doing. They might not understand the detail, but they'll recognize the name, and that can be really valuable. In terms of getting your name out there, think about new employees. Not everyone is going to know who your team is or what they've done in the past or what products you've just launched. So, why not build a sales website? And I don't mean the same website you've been using for knowledge base. I'm thinking more of a really glossy sales type website that doesn't change very often, but gives customers a real product orientated view about what problems you're going to solve. Other things you can do is you can attend all hands talks to make sure you've got a slot to talk about what it is you're doing or the new features that you're developing. You could advertise regular introduction sessions for new employees or different groups of the company. Other things I've seen organizations do is to give away laptop stickers or branded t shirts. One team even printed their logo on cupcakes and had them positioned in the canteen before a very busy lunch break. Whatever it takes to get your message out there, that's what you need to do. It's important to note your brand and how you use it can say a lot more than just the name of your platform. If you imagine if you're looking online to buy something, you're more likely to buy a product from a website that is nice and user friendly, right? Subconsciously, the quality of the website says something about the quality of the company or indeed its products. So when using your brand, really spend time to make it representative of the quality of your team. Really put the effort in. I think that's important. Next, let's look at customer onboarding. How can we give users, particularly those that are new to our platform, the best possible experience? Well, first of all, I think it's important for us to recognize there is a tendency in technology teams to rush towards building new tools, new features, new capabilities, rather than spending the time thinking about how nice a platform is to use. Let me put it another way. Would you rather buy something from a company that advertises thousands of products, but the website isn't very easy to use, the service is terrible, there can be long delays sometimes in getting your product, and there's just no support once they arrive? Or would you buy from a company that does just five things, but they do those things really well? I can think of a few successful brands that are not the first to market. They don't necessarily have the best features. They're not even the cheapest, but yet they're the nicest to use. And they've been incredibly successful because of those things. They have focused on the user experience first and foremost. And I think that's the thing. We don't use that measurement of niceness enough when we're thinking about IT platforms. So, with customer onboarding, I think there are two challenges, just two. The first is, how do we give new users a really great experience to achieve something simple? How can we give them that quick win? Things like a getting started guide, worked examples, recorded videos, these are all great ways to make sure that the first interaction with your product is going to be a great one. The next is, how can we convince people that once they know what they're doing with a platform, complex stuff feels possible? And that's where things like a troubleshooting guide, a knowledge base, frequently asked questions, office hours in Slack or something else where they can contact your team are all really valuable tools. And what about customer support? Because after all, with any product, people will eventually get stuck or have a problem. Well, my main piece of advice would be to think about multi channel. Different types of problems are best solved through different mediums. We don't want to send a brand new user who has a quick question off to a ticketing system that might take days to get a response for a low priority ticket. If it's a quick query, then a chat platform like Slack or Teams can be fantastic. It also means that everyone else on that channel can learn from the answer. And over time, you'll build a community of people that perhaps can help each other. Indeed, with as people build knowledge and experience with your platform, perhaps you'll see some advocates arise from that channel. And after all, it's much more valuable if you have a customer that can talk about the benefit they have seen from using your platform than you try to tell people that. For more corporate roles, project managers, financial controllers, etc., they might prefer to reach you through email, and that's okay. I would urge you, though, that you should have a mailbox for your team rather than those customers contacting individual engineers directly. It may be great in the short term, but long term is going to be a real problem. And of course, if there is some sort of failure that we need to track that might involve collaboration across multiple teams, then your favorite ticketing system is the way to go. We need to be able to have an audit of what we've done. We need to be able to work with other people. And of course, prevention is better than cure, right? Try to anticipate problems people might have in advance and give them a pathway to solve it quickly. That might be a digital journey that they can execute through self service. That could be frequently asked questions or a knowledge base that they can visit. If they can help themselves, then frustration levels will drop significantly. One of the tricks that I've used myself when building platform teams is that we only reply in URLs. In other words, if someone asks us a question and the answer is not available in our knowledge base, well, the first job is to, rather than write an email or response back, you write a quick wiki page on how to solve that problem. Doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to answer the problem. This way, we build up a corpus of data over time. And of course, we can look at which pages are the most popular and add screenshots and make them better. Um, I think this also works really well for new members of the team. Because, of course, as your platform gets more popular, you'll want to add more staff. Well, if you have a brand new graduate that doesn't know how to do something, well, if the answer's not in the wiki, the senior engineer can write up the answer and send it to the graduate. And of course, the graduate can then improve that wiki over time and make that page even better. The purpose here is that You need to start very early on in building up these repositories of information so that over the long term, customers will be able to help themselves. And finally, to complete the circle, we need to look at platform roadmaps. How can we go about delivering things that move the platform forwards in the right way? You see, the problem is that we're very good at thinking we know what other people want. And this goes back to the very beginning. We might build something with the best of intentions, but we didn't really understand what people actually wanted because we didn't ask them. We shouldn't be entirely surprised that after disappearing for months to build a developer portal, that nobody wants to then use it, given we didn't actually talk to any developers throughout that process. So, the big lesson with roadmaps is talk to your customers. Be transparent about what it is you're working on. Get their help to prioritize what you should be doing next. How do we go about delivering things that are actually useful? So, what I like to do is that whatever new feature it is, we should find a customer that's going to benefit from that and work alongside them. Get their involvement from early on in the ideation process. This is great. It not only helps your customer, but it also helps you demonstrate value back to teams like finance. You can then say, look, we invested in this piece of work. Here's the direct business value it delivered. Now, can I please have some more money to do some of these other features that people are waiting on? This type of approach is much better than what they're used to, and they'll really want to help you show more business value. My only warning is that customers might want something very specific to them. You need to make sure whatever you're building is useful for everyone on the platform. Otherwise, over time, the platform will become no use to anybody, not great at anything, and really difficult to change. So, think about how you can incorporate what the customer wants into something that's generic and something that can be used. You also need to ensure that you invest in the platform itself, taking some time to think about internal automation, reducing the engineer toil, and paying back any technical debt that you've built up. The clear thing, though, is that you need to be transparent. We want to offer what we're doing back to customers to make them feel involved in what it is we're building together. Users, producers are all part of the solution. And that brings us to the end of this really quick session on platforms and products. The three takeaways I want you to take are thinking about what makes a successful platform. It's not just about what it does, it's about how nice it is to use. I need you to think about how you're going to work with your customers early in the process and be transparent about how you're prioritizing next features. And last but not least, remember, user experience is just as important as the functionality of your platform. If there's a poor user experience, that is a bug and one that needs to be fixed.